Every year on the 4th of July, you fire up the grill, you put on a playlist, you throw on something red, white, and blue, and when the sun goes down, you look up at the sky and watch it explode. You're not just having a good weekend, you are fulfilling a prophecy written down by a 39-year-old lawyer from Massachusetts exactly 250 years ago. Before the United States had won a single battle, before the ink on the Declaration was even dry, he wrote down exactly what you would be doing. And he was right. Today, we are looking at the hidden origin of your backyard barbecue, the insult behind America's favorite anthem, and the real reason we burn the sky. Here is where that prophecy begins. The summer of 1776. Philadelphia. The Continental Congress has just voted to break away from the British Empire. This is not a bold move. It is, by any rational measure, a suicide note. 56 men signing a document that guaranteed they would hang from a British rope if they lost. And they signed anyway. What most people do not know is what happened immediately after. The delegates did not go home. On July 4.1776, the first public reading of the Declaration took place. Ordinary people gathered. Farmers, blacksmiths, merchants. And when the reading was over, they celebrated. That first celebration did not look like the 4th of July, you know. There were no hot dogs, no hamburgers, but there were long tables set up in the open air. And there was food, and everyone was invited. This was called a public feast. The whole town, rich and poor, soldiers and civilians. The idea was radical in its simplicity. If we are going to build a country, we are going to eat together first. The tradition spread fast. During the war, General George Washington himself would sit with his soldiers on July 4th and share whatever was available. Often it was salt pork and hard bread. Every man got the same plate. Officers and privates sat side by side. That was the point. The public feast grew into an American tradition that lasted more than 100 years. Entire towns would set up tables that ran the length of the main street. The town blacksmith sat next to the town banker. Nobody was checking credentials. Because the Declaration had been very clear on this point: all men are created equal. The dinner table was where that idea was actually practiced. So when you flip that burger today, you are not just cooking, you are continuing a tradition older than the country itself. A tradition that said everyone gets a seat. That is the original barbecue. Now about that playlist. In the 1750s, long before the Revolution, a British army surgeon wrote a little tune. He meant it as an insult. The lyrics mocked the American colonists, called them Yankee Doodle dandies. A doodle was a fool. A dandy was someone who cared too much about how he looked. The joke was that Americans were so clueless they thought sticking a feather in their hat made them stylish. The British soldiers sang it constantly to laugh at the ragtag colonists. The Americans heard the song, and instead of getting offended, they did something entirely unexpected. They stole it. By the end of the war, Yankee Doodle had become the unofficial anthem of the American cause. At Yorktown, when the British surrendered their entire army to Washington, the American band played Yankee Doodle. The song that was written to humiliate them had become their victory march. That is not just a fun piece of trivia. That is a statement. Someone tries to make fun of you. You do not argue. You take the joke. You own it. You sing it louder than they ever did. And you turn it into a weapon. That is the American playlist. And then there is what you wear. Today, the uniform is simple. A flag shirt, star-shaped sunglasses. But before the mass-produced gear, Americans wore something even more meaningful to the parade. They wore their work. Literally. In the early decades of the Republic, Independence Day parades were not just military marches. They were processions of trades. Bakers marched in their white caps. Blacksmiths carried their hammers. Shoemakers held up their lasts. Each person marched under the banner of their craft. This was not a costume. This was a declaration. Here is who I am. Here is what I contribute. This country does not belong to kings anymore. It belongs to the people who bake the bread and shoe the horses. The message was unmistakable. We are the owners of this experiment. And now the fireworks. On July 3.1776, John Adams sat down and wrote a letter to his wife. In that letter, he made a prediction. He said, "This day will be celebrated by succeeding generations. It ought to be solemnized with pomp and parade, with guns, bells, bonfires, and illuminations, from one end of this continent to the other, from this time forward forevermore." Illuminations. That was the 18th century word for fireworks. He was off by 2 days on the date. But the prophecy stands. 250 years of people gathering in backyards and looking up at the sky and watching it burn. Every single firework you see tonight is an answer. An answer to a man in a powdered wig who sat down at a desk 250 years ago and bet everything that this country would last long enough for you to stand here and see it. From 13 colonies to 50 states. From candlelit windows to coast fireworks displays. The prophecy held, but traditions only survive if we remember where they came from. 250 years from now. When someone looks back at this era, what tradition will they say we built? If you want to uncover the hidden strings of history that are still pulling our world today, hit subscribe. Welcome to Joy Pain. History isn't dead. It's just waiting to be remembered. Have a great 4th of July. When someone looks back at this era, what tradition will they say we built? If you want to uncover the hidden strings of history that are still pulling our world today, hit subscribe. Welcome to Joy Pain. History isn't dead. It's just waiting to be remembered. Have a great 4th of July.